Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal's space program, where Valentina's a little upset at us because we inserted this into the incorrect orbit. Now we don't have a lot of delta V to adjust this orbit, so that's definitely something that we're going to have to consider. For right now though, we'll burn what we've got, and if we have to refuel this, we're planning to do that anyway, so we're just going to warp to this maneuver. And we'll see just how much DV this ends up taking. So here is the ice cream maker in its current status. It's not making very much ice cream, but it'll get there. There we go. We are in our position currently, so let's hop into our advanced orbital info. And we may as well begin burning this, I think, at about any time, realistically. This is going very well. Okay, just turning it down a little bit as we approach 90-degree inclination. There we go. 90 degrees. Perfect. Now we do need to flop over to retrograde real quick and bring our apoapsis back down, as we are on our way over there. I did not mean to time warp, I wanted to physics warp. Okay, let's just get this retrograde burnt a bit. Okay. Technically, I burnt that a little further than I want to. We'll physics warp over towards prograde and push out that periapsis very, very slightly. There, that'll do. Now, at the periapsis... Oh, hello. This is a new gravity scan. We're going to deal with that at a later time. At the periapsis here, we are going to add a maneuver, and this is going to be a retrograde maneuver. And this is not going to be very much of a maneuver. We've got plenty of DV to make this happen, actually more than I thought that we had. We're aiming for just over 100,000 meters. That will do. Excellent. We will warp to that maneuver, and then we will get ourselves nice and retrograde. Here we are in a polar orbit, of course. Hi, Minmus. Physics warping the turn. This is a very, very minute burn. So let's approach 0 seconds. That'll do. Within 47 meters. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and point at, I believe it was radial in? Yeah, this looks correct, because that is what will point us almost directly at Minmus. There we go. And now we perform our orbital survey. There we go. And now we can see the overlay on Minmus. Let me just set our focus to Minmus here. That's the experiment control station there. If we toggle visibility of flags, we can see this is Valentina's ice cream stash. It's not actually the best place, but it's an okay place. There are some better locations out there, to be sure. Like right here would be really solid. But Valentina's insistent that we have to go to her stash. So, okay. I guess to her stash we will go. For right now, though, we first need to get another module to this particular station. So let's just go ahead and hop back to the Space Center, because we are going to need a facility that can support 11 Kerbals, is what she said she needed, which is rather a lot. We're going to be building it off of this base. We're going to take our SLS off for the time being. We do not need any of this science equipment. A hitchhiker storage container and a cupola module should get us what we need in terms of crew capacity. Yes. Excellent. Now, who are we going to send along on this particular mission? Well, we need to have a scientist, but I kind of want to put in a fresh pair of scientists. And this is the this is the ice cream maker, and I'm calling this the Pop Prod module, the population and production module. So we've got a fuel tank here, and then we are going to need a ISRU, and we're going to go for the Convertatron 250, the nice big one. We're going to need an ore tank in this, and ideally a large ore tank. This is the largest ore tank that we have access to. Okay, I'm going to remove the RCS from this, as well as the Science Junior, and I guess we'll just stick the ore tank up top, and then that'll flow in this way. Now, this is probably going to need some cooling, so we'll have some radiative cooling on here. I'm thinking that we would have maybe something like, doesn't go directly on here anymore. It used to be directly attachable, but something kind of like this, and then we would ditch these docking ports. Actually, this would go maybe up here, maybe down here, maybe like this. Yeah, that should be fine. I don't think that's going to interfere with our solar panels, but I'm still going to move our solar panels down to the bottom of this particular module. That did not attach. Right, because I need to put it on the fuel tank, not on the decoupler. There we go. Something like that. And then I do want to have a docking port right on the nose, if we can. Just like that. So that this thing can dock in. And then having this be half fuel should be fine. And the question is, weight-wise, how different is this? Of course, this cannot get its own ore. We will have to have another third launch for that, to be able to get a vehicle that can go down to the surface of Minmus, land, pick up ore, fly it back up to the station, dock, and then it converts into fuel. Would be the idea there. So the question is, what's our thrust to weight looking like? Well, we've definitely... That's actually all fine. We've definitely got some very similar thrust to weights here, which I'm slightly concerned about because our speeds on the last launch were suspect, shall we say. I don't feel like we need this Communitron on this particular launch. That'll help a little bit. Certainly not much. So I'm going to save this as the prop pod module. There we go. And actually, I think it doesn't like slashes in the name. I might have to change that. But for right now, I'm going to hop out of here. I want to be bringing along... We've currently got 2 scientists. I definitely want to bring 2 scientists, but I don't necessarily want to bring both of these. So I want to hire in a new scientist, like this. And this is our max number of Kerbals currently. So we can bring 2 scientists and an engineer. So we'll hop into the VAB. Here's our Pop Prod module. And we are going to be bringing along This would be all of our pilots currently busy. Maybe we don't bring a pilot and have this autonomous. We're still going to need to have the cupola module on here because we need the crew capacity. But we'd bring Reiji, and we would bring Enber, and then we would also bring Orbis. But the vehicle would launch autonomously. So we would have a... If I go into the pods, we would have a remote guidance unit right here. If we're going to have that, we're going to need some backup power. So we'd probably have just a Z1K like that. Yes, overwrite that. So how are we looking? About the same in terms of weight. I mean, as long as this thing goes up straight, right? That's the thing. As long as we hit our ascent profile correctly, we should be okay. Once again, this is going to be a simulated launch because I have very little faith in this. If we make it to orbit, great. If we don't make it to orbit, I'm okay with reverting this because we may need additional changes to our aerodynamic profile. So we're going to need to simulate this one. And I think we're pretty much ready to go. And off goes our prop prod module. Pop prod. That's kind of difficult to say. I want to get just a little bit of horizontal speed. It really wants to change our pitch rather than our yaw. So we're basically just going to chill here. Going to try to get us down towards 90 degrees, if at all possible. Kind of like this-ish. It's just kind of naturally tipping here. This is not good. Yeah, this is what I was afraid of. Okay. So I think that a lot of that has to do with the max Q rather than the actual aerodynamics of this thing. And actually, I'm just going to revert this to launch. And let's trial just sending it straight up until the solid rocket motors are completely done. Let's see what that does. In terms of our final apoapsis, anyway. We may have to end up upgrading these SRBs as we develop more of this sort of payload. We'll have to see. At the very least, I want to be through max Q before I start pitching downrange. Just because this is kind of aerodynamically unstable. Kind of massively aerodynamically unstable. Okay, we are 10 kilometers up right now. I'm gonna see about starting this. Oof. That's that same issue. Yeah, it's trying to do that number. Okay, this is about as good as we're going to get, I think, for right now. SRBs are off. And now we should have a lot more control. And indeed we do. Our speed is definitely on the low side. We're going to be chilling here for a little bit until our apoapsis gets up there. We are up over 1.0 thrust to weight now, which is a good sign. Just getting us rotated back. We rotated as we were attempting to yaw over. There we go. Our apoapsis will be sufficiently high quite soon, and in fact it is now. Any further vertical height is not helpful, and we need horizontal height at this, or horizontal velocity at this speed. I feel like that was a better launch. Like, what's our inclination at? 1.7 degrees? Yeah, that's fine. Our target inclination is going to need to be at 5.7. Okay. That's fine. Interestingly, we are basically exactly anti-target right now, so this is basically as bad of a time that we could have launched, which is pretty excellent. Not that we actually care. We'll do an orbit. It's half an hour. Like, no one cares. We still need to speed up a little bit here. And our SLS first stage is definitely struggling to deliver this to orbit. Which is why I'm thinking about upgrading the SRBs. Now that will make our ascent issues worse, actually. Our ascent control issues. I mean, we could put a fairing on this, I suppose, but we kind of didn't need it. Okay, so we are just about done with our SLS stage. Right now. Off we go. The tiny little bit of fuel here required to put this into orbit with our combination space station and upper stage. We're not going to be skipping on the atmosphere this time, which is a good sign. And we're going to need to change our inclination 5.6 degrees. That could be worse. We'll just alter that like so. Something like that. That's going to be a pure normal burn. So we will just... Actually, we can lock to maneuver at this point. Which is exactly what we will do. We also need to extend our solar panels. There's no need right now to extend our radiators. Those will not be useful until after the next launch. Okay, we'll go ahead and warp to this maneuver now. There we go. This is going to be a 27-second burn, so we need to burn this at T-minus 13.5 seconds. So we'll warp towards that. Okay, and we will burn this now. Get this inclination change done. This is looking good so far. There we go. Actually, that's 0.1 degrees. I want to alter this a little bit. Is this the wrong way? It is. Okay. So we'll go to anti-normal. We may not be able to get it to 0.0 degrees from this position. We'll see. No. Okay, this is close enough. So we will just head off to Minmus, and I think at the apoapsis is when we're going to want to make this burn. That is a moon encounter. Disgusting. Okay. This is a Minmus encounter. Is that an okay Minmus encounter? You know, honestly, I think this is fine. We're going to have quite a bit of changes to do to this orbit anyway, so I don't think we need to burn any extra fuel here, because a lot of our inclination changes are going to be more efficient further out anyway. Right? That's how inclination works? I'm pretty sure it does. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, though. So this is a 1 minute 35 second burn to get there, so we are going to need to burn this for 30 plus 17.5 seconds. So 47.5 seconds is our T-minus marker. So I will go ahead and warp towards 47.5 seconds. Still got about another minute to warp here. Okay, we'll drop that down a little bit. 47.5. Wait, we're under it. We're not under acceleration. Okay. So right now. And off we go to Minmus. Fantastic. All we care about is an encounter. This encounter isn't super important to us. We're going to want to match this polar orbit, which is going to be interesting, and then we're going to have to rendezvous here. That is certainly a job for next episode. It's definitely a little late in the episode to run that rendezvous. The poles are not a good place to land. Good to know. Okay. That's fine. We're going to have to make our mining craft. I don't know if that'll be next episode or the one after, but it'll be one of those. And we're going to use this as a bit of a jumping off point to get to the solar gateway, which itself is going to be a jumping off point to get to some of the further areas. Of course, we do need to check in on those. And we should probably actually finish those missions relatively soon. Just because I might forget otherwise. Okay, so let's just take a quick look over here. This burn will be finishing up shortly. Still another 100 meters per second to go here. You know what? I'll allow it. This was retrograde anyway. It's kind of equatorial. That's fine. So, once we get over here, we are going to need to burn retrograde and just encapsulate the orbit a little bit. Like, this is fine. And then from there, we would, of course, find this point here and use that to change our inclination. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and warp over this way. We'll head to the maneuver node. Of course, this is going to change as we are physics warping. It'll change back now that we're done physics warping. Approximately. I think this is a floating point error. We'll just update that quickly. That's good enough. Okay, we'll warp to this maneuver. That's in 9 days. So off we go. Currently have no probe control because we have no data. That's okay. We'll have data back momentarily as we approach Minmus. There we go. Our data is back. Fantastic. This is a 14-second burn, so we want to burn at T-minus 7 seconds. So we'll just warp towards that. This is, of course, a pure retrograde burn. and we will burn right now. There we go. And next episode, I will fail my rendezvous a bunch of times. You can look forward to that. You can also leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.